I have a joke question from Retrograde Toys and Collectibles who says, any thoughts on quitting reselling for a wrap career? You have such an attractive and witty husband. Where did you find him? And Penelope says, do you find eBay or Etsy better? And are you planning to get your own website at any time? Those were the two things that really stand out to me that made me realise that, yeah, I could do this and I would enjoy doing this and I can make money doing this. I said to her, I was just cursing the neighbour and there's you going, zzz. Hello everyone. So I thought I would do a Q&A. I haven't done one for, I don't know, probably 3 years at least. I know we were definitely living in our old house. So yeah, we've been here over 2 years now. So it's at least 3 years that I've done a Q&A. So I put a post out on Instagram and on my community page on YouTube and asked if anybody had any questions. And I got a few questions back. So today's video is just going to be a fun Q&A. If you missed out on asking me a question and you've got a question that you'd really like to ask me, then just pop it in the comments below. And if I have enough, I might do another Q&A or I'll just answer below in the comments. You might be able to hear it in my voice. I've not been very well this week. So I've got a head full of cold and I'm battling with not coughing. So there might be some pauses in this while I have a bit of a coughing fit, but I'm going to carry on as best I can. The first question that came in on Instagram was from a certain Nick Hills. And he says, you have such an attractive and witty husband. Where did you find him? Now, it wasn't his question that made me laugh. It was our friend Sean who replied and said, a charity shop. So thanks for that answer, Sean. And it's not far off. It does tie in with a question that I had from Spin One Puppy on YouTube. And they say, hi Andrea, I'd like to ask, how did you and Nick meet and was it love at first sight? So when I say it wasn't far off that we met in a charity shop, we met in a shop. Does anybody remember Our Price? They were a record shop that were bought out by Virgin Records in the late 90s. And that's where we met. I finished university in 96 and Nick was still doing he deferred his last year. So he was looking for a job and got a Christmas job at Our Price. I'd just got a job there. So we found ourselves working together and we were friends before we got together, basically. We had a really good bunch of people that we worked with. We were all friends, we all socialised together and we went out quite often together. So he went away and finished his last year of university, and then when Virgin brought out Our Price, we were all preparing to open the new Virgin Megastore and Nick got a job there. So we spent quite a lot of time together getting the shop ready. The two of us went off on a couple of training days together and we were getting to know each other a bit more. And then in 1997, it was his birthday and we all went out together and he spent all evening chatting to a female colleague of ours and I thought, oh okay, they're going to get together. And I did really quite like him at this point, so I was feeling quite disappointed because, you know, I was hoping something might happen between us and I thought, oh, you know, they're getting together. So I was getting ready to go home and I went to the loo with another friend and I was saying to her, you know, I'm going to go home. And then a really weird thing happened. A lady that I had never met before, never seen before, came out of one of the toilet cubicles and looked at me and said, don't go. Everything that you've ever wanted is out there waiting for you. Don't go home. And it was the weirdest thing. And I didn't go home. And it was a club, but it was a pretty bad one. And there weren't many people in there, and it was a quite small venue. And I didn't see her again that whole night. And I could tell you that I would have seen her in there because there weren't many people in there. It was, yeah, it didn't last very long, let's put it that way. So it was a really weird thing that happened. And I always think that, well, because I'm quite a spiritual person, I always think that maybe she was, you know, some kind of angel or earth angel or something. I know that sounds weird to people who don't believe that sort of thing, but that's what I've always felt. And it always felt like it was meant to be. So I didn't go home, and I went out and I sat back down with my drink, and he came up to me and sat next to me and told me that he really liked me and he was hoping that we could go out together. And it turns out that he'd been talking to our colleague the whole night because he'd been trying to get up the courage to come and tell me and to talk to me. So there you go. That's how we got together. And 27 years later, we are still together and have a very lovely daughter and built a business together, built a life together, and yeah, haven't looked back. The next thing I'm battling is the sunlight coming through the window, so I'm going to move slightly to this side so I'm not blinded. That's better. The next question was asked on YouTube, and this is from Penelope Sparrow. And Penelope says, do you find eBay or Etsy better? And are you planning to get your own website at any time? So the short answer to that is eBay. But that may be just because we concentrate more on eBay because eBay is the core of our business. We started our business on eBay in 2001. I started selling on Etsy a few years ago, and it's kind of evolved over the years. I started originally making homemade jewellery, and then I was selling clothing, so I was putting all my vintage clothing on Etsy, and now I'm selling vintage homeware. So Etsy is more of a, I don't want to say sideline, but it's not what I concentrate on. So I cross-list across to Etsy, and I put more of my energy and focus on eBay. I know, I'm very aware that there are lots of people that have really successful vintage businesses on Etsy and do very well just on Etsy. And I think that if I really concentrated on that and that was my focus, then I could make my Etsy shop much more successful than it is. But as I say, eBay is the focus, and that's where I have more success on eBay. And also because both Nick and I share an eBay shop, so we're both constantly listing on it, and that generates more traffic and therefore more sales. So in terms of whether I think it's better to list on eBay or Etsy, I think that really is an individual choice, and I can't really answer for everyone. I can only tell you my own experience on it. However, having said all that, the next question is, am I planning to get my own website at any point? And the answer to that is that I think about that all the time, and this is an ongoing discussion between myself and Nick all the time. Because I do wonder sometimes, because we sell a wide, vast range of items, not all vintage, on our eBay, because we share it and we are generally generalist sellers in terms of we sell anything and everything. Although I specialise in the vintage homeware, we have always sold a bit of everything. So our eBay shop is very, very random. It's full of all kinds of things. And I do wonder, and I discuss this with Nick quite often, if the vintage stuff would do better on eBay if I had my own shop. But then the thing that stops me doing that is that we have spent years, decades, building up our feedback score, building up the shop, and I would have to start from scratch, and then we'd have 2 sets of fees, so it would be more expensive. Would that then cancel out whatever extra we would make just by having a niche store because we're spending more on fees? And also there isn't the buyer confidence there because of the feedback and all of that. So then I think about, well, perhaps I could start my own website, and I have tried that. We worked with Wix and I built a website about 2.5 years ago, maybe a bit longer, and we had that for a year. And granted, I didn't really push it out, but we had a handful of sales on that website. And when it came time to renew it, and it was quite costly to renew it, I realised that it just wasn't worth it. So I just cancelled my subscription with Wix and we let go of the store. The upside of having a website would be that it would be a place to direct people to just for the vintage. The downside would be extra costs, as it would be to have a second eBay store. And also, I think with eBay, you have an international market at your fingertips, basically, and you don't have to put the individual work in to market it and to market yourself and to really push yourself out there, because eBay basically does all that work for you. So, as I say, it is an ongoing discussion, ongoing thoughts. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Do you have your own websites? And if so, let me know what your experience of that is, good or bad. I'd be really, really interested to know, because I think about it all the time, as I say, and I'm always in two minds whether it would be a good idea for me or not. But whenever we have this discussion and whenever I talk about it, I always come right back round again and think, no, I'll just carry on doing what we do, sharing our eBay shop, having the Etsy shop that I can direct people to from social media. So, you know, that's my vintage niche shop as such. And I come to the conclusion that I think it might be just too costly to start a shop from scratch again. But as I say, I would love your advice and I would love to know what your experiences are. I was just going to add, and this isn't a question, but I was just going to add that there have been ongoing conversations as to whether eBay is the place to sell vintage, and whether, you know, are the younger generation shopping on eBay? Are people looking on eBay for vintage homeware, for decor, etc.? I'm moving more and more towards this way again. I'm gonna have to move again in a minute. So just with that thought in mind, I love watching lots of different YouTube videos talking about interior design. I love the house tours. I love videos about interior designers, etc. Kind of use it as research and inspiration. And every time the interior designer or the person that has done up their own house talks about where they source their second-hand vintage, antique furniture, homeware, decor, etc., they always mention eBay, which I find really encouraging, because obviously eBay is still relevant within that niche. It's still relevant for a younger generation, despite the fact that a lot of people question whether it is. And it encourages me to carry on doing what I'm doing on eBay, because I think there are still people out there sourcing for their own homes, for projects, etc. So yeah, that was just an aside, just an extra thought about whether eBay is the right place to sell vintage. I've moved again. So my next two questions are very similar. I've got one from Catherine, who says, "Hi Andrea, what is your favourite thing that you've bought whilst out thrifting in the last few months? And also, what would you love to find next time you're out thrifting?" And then the very similar question from Random Finds UK is, "If like me, I'm sure you will have a huge bucket list of vintage items that you would like to find in the wild. And my question is, what is at the top of your list?" So I'll start with Catherine. What's my favourite thing that I've bought in the last few months? And boy, that was a really difficult question to answer. It was nothing that immediately went, that was the thing. That was the thing that I was so happy to find. More than anything, I looked around and I thought, I've picked up so many lovely, beautiful, gorgeous things in the last year. It's so hard to pick. So I've picked up this one thing. I've tried to narrow it down. I picked up this one thing that was a surprise find in a charity shop, and I could not leave it behind. And it's definitely something that's worth looking out for because they sell really well, and I think I will sell this, but it's going to be hard to let go of because it's so lovely. And it is this. It is Pyrex, and I can't really remember the design name. I'll look it up and pop it on the screen for you if I can find it. But look how gorgeous. And I spent £5 on that. And I ummed and ahed for ages because it was £5 for a Pyrex bowl. And I thought, can I justify £5 for a Pyrex bowl? But I did have a quick Google search on it, and I realised that this design is quite desirable, and the £5 was worth spending out to resell anyway. So I bought it. The thing is, I have my own mixing bowls that I use that I don't really want to swap out. So can I justify keeping this? I don't think I can. So it will be sold. But at the moment, I'm enjoying it sitting on a shelf and just looking at it every now and then because it is so gorgeous. The printing on the bottom says Pyrex, but then underneath it says Corning, USA. So it is American Pyrex. So just the fact that I found this in a UK charity shop was quite rare in itself. So yeah, definitely I think that was the thing that really stood out to me when I thought about all the things and I looked around and I thought, you know, what have I picked up? What were my favourites? That's the thing that stood out to me. The other thing that I had in mind was somebody recently commented and said, "I'm really enjoying you in your coffee pot era." And I thought, I like that. Yeah, I seem to be in my coffee pot era. That really amused me, but amused me because it's very true. I'm definitely in my coffee pot era. I'm very much enjoying picking up coffee pots. And and that hasn't changed yet. I haven't got past it. So I have picked up a number of very lovely coffee pots and coffee percolators this year. Earlier in the year, we went to stay in an Airbnb, and the person that owned the Airbnb clearly collected coffee pots. And I think that pushed me further into my coffee pot era because I was loving them already, but he had a collection and he had them all over his kitchen. And since then I've been on the lookout for various different designs and makes, and I have this image of having something very similar in my kitchen, having a shelf with a coffee pot collection. So I haven't actually listed them yet. I kind of pick things to list around them, and they're still there because I may well do that coffee pot shelf at some point. So that brings me on to the next part of the question, and then on to the question from Random Finds as well, which was what would I love to find next time I'm out thrifting, and what is at the top of my bucket list. Now, I do have an ongoing list, shall I say, on my phone of things that I'm on the lookout for, things that I've seen when I've been researching, things that I've seen in magazines or on Instagram that just really stand out to me, and I think, oh, I would love to find that. So I will just give you an idea, a snapshot of a few of the things that I am on the lookout for, that I would love to find. And if you've seen any of my recent haul videos, then you will have seen that I picked up recently a couple of Wedgwood glass paperweights. I picked up the shell paperweight, the amber glass one, from a jumble sale, which I absolutely love, and it's going nowhere. I'm definitely looking after that one for a while, and it goes with my amber glass Wedgwood snail. I also have picked up a couple of Wedgwood owls as well, glass owls. I'm looking at one over here right now. I'll go and get it. I'll show you. So I have two of these Wedgwood owls. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the Wedgwood stamp on the bottom there. And I've got two identical ones of these that I picked up separately. So whilst I was doing the research on those, I came across the Wedgwood mushrooms, the mushroom paperweights, and my word, they are so beautiful. I'm definitely on the lookout for glass Wedgwood paperweight mushrooms. They do them in a variety of colours. Obviously, the amber glass ones would be like top of my bucket list, because I love amber glass, and it would go with the other two amber glass paperweights that I already have. By the way, I just want to say that the owls are for sale. The other two are in my collection now, but the owls will be for sale. Are they at the top of my bucket list? Maybe they are. Yeah. So yeah, that, in answer to that, that's the top of my bucket list. But then also, if you've been watching for a while, you know that I love the mid-century Hornsey designs, and I would love to find some of the original, although they have been reissued, and I wouldn't be sad to find the reissues as well, but some of the original would be, you know, perfect to find. Of the like the birds, I'll insert photos so you know what I'm talking about, because I'm not very articulate sometimes, but the little trinket dishes that are in the shapes of birds, and also the cruets, like the owl cruets and the cats, and yeah, they have been reissued. There are modern versions of them, but they are based on the originals. So the originals would be the ideal, but I would not be sad to find the reissues as well, because I absolutely love those designs. They're so colourful, and I don't know, there's just something about animal ceramics that I just seem to love as well. So yeah, that's on my bucket list. Then talking of Wedgwood glass, I was also doing some research, and some of their vases, their mid-century vases, They're on a par with mid-century Scandinavian glass, which is also on my bucket list. It's on my list of things to look out for. Any kind of colourful, beautifully shaped mid-century Scandinavian glass. I have a couple of pieces myself that I found in a charity shop. Also, I bought one on auction on eBay recently, which I actually bought to resell. I'm still battling with the light that's moving me around. I wonder if I move back, that might help. Slightly. Yeah, what was I saying? I bought a vase recently with the mind to reselling it, and I'm looking after it for a while. So it's currently on my mantelpiece, along with a couple of other vases that I picked up recently. So in conclusion, mid-century glass as a whole, Scandinavian, Wedgwood, yeah, absolutely in love with. I love the shapes, I love the colours. I just seem to really have a thing for coloured glass. So I'm always on the lookout for that. And then just another thing to mention on my bucket list is rare Portmeirion patterns. You see, you know, the botanical garden and all of that kind of thing around all the time. But there are patterns that you just don't see that much at all. And there are designs that fetch a really good price. So I'm always researching, looking out for different designs that sell well, and yeah, I'm always on the lookout for the rarer designs of Portmeirion. At this rate, you're going to get a whole 360 of the of the office. You're getting an inadvertent office tour. Okay, so next question is from Darren Ford, who asks, what was your first ever purchase that made you think, I can do this full time? Now, that was a difficult question to answer as well. It's been a while. So yeah, so I don't know if I could be completely accurate to say it was the first purchase, but I can tell you a couple of standout memories of items that we've had that, you know, have really given us confidence on being able to sell and make money to earn a living on eBay. So when we first started, as I said, we met in a record store, and Nick had dreams of having his own record store. And when we first started going out, he showed me that he'd been buying CDs from boot sales, and like he had boxes and boxes of them under his bed that he'd been collecting, with a view to eventually having his own record shop. And I think at that point I thought, he's a keeper. I've always wanted a record shop. He's definitely a keeper. I used to talk with my friend Mel, who also worked at Virgin, about having a record shop, and we used to sit and talk about dreams of having like a high fidelity style record shop, and yeah, I've always dreamt of having that. And when he showed me his collection of CDs, I thought, yeah, I'm down for that. And eventually we did actually have our own record shop. It was kind of a record stroke gaming shop. So it was like an early version of CEX, really. We did secondhand and new, and we traded in. So we had music and DVDs and games and the whole lot. So that was really where we started, and that was what we resold in the beginning, was mainly media, gaming, music. So when eBay first started and we discovered it quite early on, Nick started using it to look for like Game & Watches and, you know, that sort of thing to add to his collection. And then he realised that he could actually buy something cheaper at a boot sale and then sell it for more on eBay. And that's really where I think for most resellers, that's that kind of realization is where the business starts, isn't it? So for Nick, I would say it was probably that. It was his collection of Game & Watches and realising that he could buy for not very much and sell for much more on eBay that made him realise that he could, he could make money doing that. The standout for me, I think, was we'd already started like selling part-time, and we picked up a Ruthie Henshall CD. And Ruthie Henshall, if you're not in the know, she's a big name in the West End. She's a huge West End star. She did a reality show recently, and I think it was I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was a big fan anyway, so I recognised it straight away and picked it up because, if you can't, I always have the thought that if you can't sell something and you're not sure on something, if you like it yourself, then you've lost nothing. So I picked it up thinking, well, give it a go, but if not, I'll enjoy listening to it. So that's what I particularly remember. And we got it home and we sold, well, back in those days, in the beginning of eBay, everything went on auction. And it fetched quite a lot of money. Yeah, that was a real standout for me. So whenever I think about the early days and like aha moments, that Ruthie Henshall CD made me think, wow, yeah, this is great. We can make money on this. We buy that for £1 and sell it for, I don't even remember what it sold for, but I remember it was significant, and being surprised and thrilled at the same time. I've moved again and I'm still on the lean. The second thing that really springs to mind is the first ever auction that we went to, and it was a local one. It was a regular auction that was held in our local football club. So we went along one day, and we went with Nick's parents actually. So we were just going for, not seriously, just to see what it was all about. And it was quite an interesting one actually, because you went to the preview, and then in the evening it was all laid out with chairs sort of going, lined up backwards, almost like you were the audience and the auctioneer was in the front. And it was very well organised actually. But I do remember potentially getting a bit too excited. And, I bid on quite a lot of things. And I bid on some glass, funnily enough. Some coloured glass, vintage coloured glass. And I got it for not very much. I never sold that glass for two reasons. One is because I love coloured glass, so I just hung on to it, and it decorated our house for quite some time. We did actually eventually sell it, but many, many, many years later. But I hung on to it for a long time. But I remember the thrill of it, and I remember how much I loved that glass that I bought, and also doing a bit of research and realising that, yeah, this goes quite well. It was a small sort of nugget of what I do now back then. But the second reason was that when I talked about reselling it, Nick said, no, I don't want to ship that. It was in the early days before he was the superstar packer that he is now. And he said, no, I don't have the confidence in packaging that. So, yeah, eventually, as I say, we did sell it and didn't have any issues. But I just remember the thrill of it and thinking, I would love to do this. And here we are now, some time later. So those were the two things that really stand out to me that made me realise that, yeah, I could do this and I would enjoy doing this and I can make money doing this. I have a joke question from Retrograde Toys and Collectibles, who says, Any thoughts on quitting reselling for a wrap career? If you don't get that reference, then a couple of weeks ago on our main channel, we joined forces with our friend Lainey, who is Big Girls Don't Cry, and we raised money for the Stroke Association. And we did like a whole weekend of YouTube events and quizzes, auctions, raffles, various different things just for fun and to get people involved and to raise some money. And we raised over £2,000, which is absolutely amazing. But this question is in reference to that because friends of ours, that's Flipping Retro on YouTube, said that they would donate some money if I would do the rap for Gangster's Paradise. And the reason why was because during the music quiz that we were doing with them, I think for some reason I did the opening line to it, and and they said, yeah, can you rap it and we'll and we'll donate some money. So I mean, how can I say no to that? However, it was really awful, and I have no career in rap music whatsoever. So, no, I will not be quitting my day job. My friend Tara, who is Shop the Lanes on Instagram, asks, do we have any concerts booked for next year? And we have two now. We have one in February, which we've booked to see Alison Moyet, which I can't wait to see. I love Alison Moyet, and so does Nick. And we've never seen her live, so we're very excited about that. I just started cursing our neighbour because I thought they were like sawing stuff again, because I could just hear this really high-pitched bzzz noise. And I had to stop. And I went out and I realised it was Nick, like squeegeeing the windows with the Karcher thing. I was just cursing. I said to him, I was just cursing the neighbour, and there's you going bzzz. Anyway. Yes, so we're going to see Alison Moyet. I'm very excited about that. I think Nick's really excited too because we love her. And another person that I was really, really hoping to see next year was Lenny Kravitz. I've never seen Lenny Kravitz live, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for him to announce a UK date. He's been performing across Europe this year, and I was doing a Vegas residency, I think, and other things, and hadn't announced a UK date. I was thinking, is he ever going to do a UK date? I don't know. Eventually, he announced one for the exact same date that we're going to see Alison Moyet. So I'm gutted, absolutely gutted. In every other place, he's doing multiple dates. In the UK, just one date. Why? Why do we get just one date? I'm absolutely gutted. I keep hoping and praying that he announces another UK date at some point. Yeah, that's life for you, isn't it? The second thing that we have already booked in for next year is the thing that we do every single year, and that is Rewind Festival. And we go with friends. We go with Shelley, who is Shelster Rooney on YouTube, and we go with her family, and Crispy, who is also another reseller. He's on Instagram, and his other half, Catherine, and Catherine's sister is coming along. Well, she came along last year. She's coming along, and it's just growing and growing and growing every year. Our tribe of people that go to Rewind. Ellen comes with us too, and it's so much fun. It's a highlight of our year for us. It doesn't matter what the lineup is, just the fact that we get together as friends, we camp for the weekend, and yeah, it's just really, really good fun. I have saved what I think is the best question that I had for last. It comes from Flips with Skips. And the question is, there's a magic box, and when you open it, it will contain whatever item you're thinking of at the time. Mary Poppins carpet bag style rules for the size. So basically it can be any size, you know, it doesn't matter what size the box is, the item can be whatever size. You can only open it once, and you can't sell anything that comes out of the box or the box itself. What is in the box? Again, I had to give this a lot of thought, probably more thought than I should have done. My initial answer to that was not material things. So I don't know, doesn't specify whether it should be a material thing or something vintage. I don't know. So my very first initial thought on if you could open a box and anything would be in it, what would it be? Immediately my mind flickers to people that I miss. And when I started to think about, would it be a physical item, a material item? Honestly, because I deal with physical things all day long, there really isn't anything that I particularly want or need in terms of physical material items. Every year we do a Secret Santa within our family, and we have to write down, you know, a list of ideas of things we would like within a budget, and then that gets distributed, and then you get something from your list. And I really struggled with that this year. Quite often I put down books because I love reading, but I've got so many books that I haven't had a chance to read yet. And also I'm really into listening to audiobooks on Spotify at the moment. So there aren't any books that I would physically like at the moment. And I think also when you thrift, unless it's something specific that you need, if there's something that you want, then you're very likely to find it out and about at some point, or something near to it anyway. So I'm always happy to be patient and wait if I've got a list of things that I'm on the lookout for just for us. You've heard me talk about that before, like sort of kitchen utensils, and eventually I always find what I'm looking for. So I really couldn't say that I would want it to be something physical, that I would want it to be a material item as such. So after great thought, what I came up with was I would love to find, because I'm guessing, this is all imaginary, it's all, it's not real, is it? So you can have anything. If it can be any size coming out of a Mary Poppins bag, it can be anything. So what I would really love to find in this box is I got a little bit upset when I started thinking about this, so I'm going to try not to get upset now. I would like to find a voucher that allows me to have a little bit of time with my grandparents again. Well, flips with skips. I bet you didn't expect this question to make me cry. But I miss them so much. My nan was like my best friend. She passed away in 2019, and we were so similar. She raised me, we did everything together, and we spent a lot of time together, put the world to rights together. If ever I had a problem, if ever I needed any advice, it was always my nan that I could go to. When you lose those parental figures in your life, those people that looked after you. Why am I putting this on camera? It's just really, really, really hard, because suddenly you don't have those people to lean on anymore, and you become that person that other people lean on. I would just love to have just that little bit of time where I could sit down with them and just catch up and get their advice on things, and just hear their perspective on things again. I suppose it's a little bit like, you know, like the reality shows like Big Brother or I'm a Celebrity, you know, when they get their letter from home or a message from home or whatever, when they've been without their loved ones for so long, and then their loved ones say, hey, just to let you know you're doing okay. I'm sure I will highly edit this. So apologies for the quick edits, but yeah. I feel like this question is, what would be your heart's desire, you know? A bit like the mirror in Harry Potter, you know, when you stand in front of it, and what comes back, what reflects back, what's your heart's desire, what would be in that box, what's the thing that you would like most in the world, and that's it. Like that message from home. I'd like to be able to just, you know, sit and have a cup of tea with them, have a catch up, a bit of cake, and yeah, just have a chat with them again. And I'm sure lots of you, most of you, probably all of you, relate to that. So I pulled myself together and I went outside to get a tissue, and just outside the door, who should be sat there but this little one, Jeff. So I think I should wrap up here. I'm going to go and cuddle this little fur ball here. Of course, whenever you want your animals to perform, I wanted him to say hello, but he won't look at the camera at all. He's like, nope, I'm looking down here, I'm not looking at that camera. So yeah, I can't get him to say hello, but I'm going to go and give him a big cuddle. And I just want to thank you all so much for asking the questions, for watching my rambling answers, and sorry if I got upset and made you cry. and that aside, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and next week will be a less emotional one. It should be a vlog of some description, maybe out and about. You can see a dog out there now, out the window. Yeah, we should be out and about next week. If we don't manage to get out and about, then it will be some sort of vlog around the house, I should think. I might do a little bit of shopping in my stock and show you what I'm listing, and yeah, something like that. I'm not too sure yet. There is a Christmas fair. It's not a vintage Christmas fair, sadly. I think it will all be gifty stuff, to be honest. But there is a Christmas fair in the village, and we're all starting to get a bit Christmassy around here. Ellen and I are even thinking about putting up our tree this weekend. So yeah, might be a little bit of that in it. A big truck just went past and he's very cross about it, so I've let him go and have a bark. Right, so I shall love you and leave you. As I say, if you've got any more questions, then pop them in the comments below, and I shall see you in another video very soon. Take care, everyone. Lots of love.